Hi, in this video I'm going to compare different brands of cobalt green watercolors. I'll take a look at the Pigment PG19, talk about its quirks, and how it compares to similar hues labeled as the ingredient PG50. Since some of you may be eyeing the new special edition mixtures by Schmincke, I'll also show you how to mix your own version of Forest and Tundra green colors. They both use PG19, but there are a few cheaper PG50 alternatives that I recommend instead. Schmincke's Cobalt Green Pure is made from the pigment PG19, which is rare to find in watercolor paints. Daniel Smith's PG19 is pale in comparison, and the pigment powder was not as finely ground, so it granulates more. I'm overall not a big fan of PG19, the main reasons being rewettability and instability. I love the dramatic texture in Daniel Smith's Cobalt Green, but it has a lot of binder issues. I'll be showing how that binder problem affected the paint color as it aged in the tube, as well as swatches of Schmincke's version fresh from the tube versus dry in the pan. Daniel Smith's version dries gummy and hard to re-wet in the pan, but if you leave some in a tube in order to refill your pan set again maybe next year, you may be in for an even nastier surprise. My tube had dramatic binder separation and, more importantly, discoloration. This is really unusual as watercolor paints tend to be stable for many years. I had hoped this deep brown tint that stained all of the remaining green pigment was just a fluke, but I got a new Daniel Smith dot card recently, and the Cobalt Green from a newer batch showed the same brown binder that had stained the light green pigment to a dirtier color. While Schmincke's PG19 is actually quite nice in comparison, it is not without minor issues that make it less preferable to me than PG50. First, it's expensive, with a tiny 5 ml tube being about the same price as a 20 ml tube of PG50 from Lucas. While Schmincke's PG19 is not hard to re-wet from dry, I did notice that no matter how much I thought I had loaded onto my brush, it never reached the deep mass tone it easily achieved when I used it fresh from the tube. Some watercolors are not like this, even with difficult pigments. I've noticed that colors typically considered weak and hard to re-wet, such as Viridian PG18, can give a nice deep mass tone from dry depending on the brand's formula. Honey-based watercolor paints like M. Graham or Roman Schmal retain more moisture in a pan, so they can give you a stronger pigment load even when used from dry. It's possible that adding a drop of glycerin or honey to your pan may solve this issue. PG19 and PG50 can be a variety of colors ranging from turquoise or teal blue, a cool green similar to Viridian PG18, all the way to a warmer grassy green. This gets confusing for those who may assume a pigment number means a specific color hue, but ingredient numbers are assigned based on how you identify the color chemically. All of these mainly contain cobalt as the core ingredient, but these all have secondary trace minerals that change the hue. PG19 tends to be green, containing zinc oxide, while PG50 can also be green, but it often leans towards teal when it contains varying amounts of titanium. You may also see other teal blue paints that look identical to PG50, but they're labeled as PB28 cobalt blue or PB36 cerulean. Color variations in those pigments can be dramatic, ranging from a sky blue to a deep ultramarine color. They are usually marked as a different pigment code due to trace additional oxides like zinc, aluminum, magnesium, or chromium. It's good to know that a hue can vary dramatically even within a single pigment number code, especially if someone recommends that you add a certain pigment number to your palette. It's not always the same color in each brand. The cobalt greens I've swatched from my Mary Blue, Roman Schmal, and Lucas are remarkably similar. Lucas seems to have a slight shine after drying when used very thickly, likely due to a little extra gum arabic in their binder, which is not so surprising considering it's the cheapest of the options. None of these colors have much of a salt texture reaction due to the heavy, thicker particles of cobalt pigment. This lack of salt reaction on my swatch cards is an indicator that these pigments settle in wet washes. That means that these colors are more likely to create color separating mixtures, especially if you pair them with a lighter weight or less sedimentary color on your palette. Schmincke has released several limited edition super granulating convenience mixtures using PG19. Tundra and Forest Green has it mixed with PBR6 Mars Brown or PBR33 Mahogany Brown. Some of us had initially assumed that the advertising wording, super granulating, meant more texture, but Schmincke's website says that they only meant that when 2 or more normal granulating colors are mixed together, that you can see those colors separate in wet washes. By seeing that multiple color effect, this is super granulating. It would have been cool if they had offered pigments that weren't ground up as finely, like the coarse Daniel Smith's PG19, to make more of a textural effect than usual. These colors are simply convenience mixtures of 2 or more paints they already offered individually. You can mix your own replica of these colors using any of the cheaper PG50 cobalt greens instead of their PG19. While I won't be going into the brown alternatives in this video, I highly recommend trying any brown pigments you may already have if you're trying to replicate these mixtures. Because of how much PG19 or PG50 sinks and settles into the texture of your paper in wet washes, you will have some degree of color separating success no matter what brown color you mix them with. If you're debating buying one of those pre-mixed colors, I personally recommend having 2 single pigment colors instead because it's just so much more versatile. For example, in this cat demonstration painting, I only used 2 colors for the whole painting. I had Schmincke's PBR6 and PG19, which when mixed together creates Tundra Green. I used that mixture in the eyes and the background. This could have been achieved by spending less money up front on a brand like Roman Schmall instead of investing $15 for a tube mixture with limited applications. Getting 2 $5 pans for PG50 and then a similar granulating earth brown may be more useful. In the future, I can't see myself investing in more of these mixtures, especially if I already own the ingredients used to make them. Though it's possible they might make such a beautiful mixture that I would use it often enough to justify the investment. If it would save me the time of mixing it myself very frequently, I could see being willing to buy more of these convenience mixtures. It would have to be a pretty special color I foresee using a lot, because a tube often lasts me over a year because I paint pretty small and have a lot of other colors on my palette. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you prefer to keep a single pigment palette, or do you like to keep pre-made mixtures? Let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to see more, you can find all of my detailed swatch card images, results from my independent lightfast testing, and other art supply reviews on my website. I'm currently building a huge pigment database where thousands of colors can be compared side by side with paint from other brands. Updates about this project, along with line art drawings and high-res color scans, are also available on Patreon. Thanks for watching.